Welcome to the final week of our Loving Where You're Living Bible study series. First, let me just say thank you for being a part of it these past 3 weeks. Week number 1, we learned how to love ourselves, and we also learned later how to love the place that we live. And today we're going to take a look at the world and the diversity in the world that the Lord created and how that we can love others in the midst of that diversity. Take a second and read Acts chapter 11, verses 19 through 26. We're going to read the story of Barnabas there, and Pastor Butch and Pastor Jody are going to lead you through the discussion.
So point number 1 we'll move to is appreciate the uniquenesses of the people of the world. So Pastor Butch, you got any?
You know, one thing we do really good at Community is we have a very diverse church, and we actually put a lot of attention into reaching a lot of different diverse people. And I think that's biblical. I think that's, Romans tells us that God is no respecter of persons, and I think we should do that.
Exactly. And we have a question there for point number 1.
Yeah, I just thought we might ask people, how do the differences in your group add value? All of our small groups hopefully are made up, pretty much of a lot of different kinds of people. And how does the value of our small groups, the differences in our small groups add value to our small groups?
Yeah, I know my life has been enriched by the different cultures that I come into contact with and hearing their background, their history. And I'm sure that happens in our church as well as the groups.
Okay, the second point is decide how to encourage the people of the world. And that it was really neat in the sermon when we looked at Barnabas, because Barnabas was such an encourager. And it was not only was an encourager there in Jerusalem, but then he was an encourager when he went to Antioch. And, so Jody, how do we encourage folks? What's the big deal about encouraging people?
When I think about encourage, I'm reminded of when you encourage people, you're putting courage inside of them. And when you discourage people, you're pulling courage out of them. And so one of the traits that I'd like to portray is putting courage in people. And we can do that with our words. We can do that with our actions. We can do that in so many ways, but our world needs courage, and we need to be encouraged, and we need places that we can go to be filled with courage. So here's a question for you, Butch. In what ways can the people in your group, or here's for the group, encourage the people of the world? And, there's so many ways we can do that. Do you have any good advice there?
Certainly. There's a lot of different communities, even in our community. And so your group can actually do a work day or do something that would touch the people in the community. And then another great way is to somehow encourage our missionaries, by sending a care package or just communicating with them regularly.
Yeah, and on our website, we have information on our missionaries. So if you guys want to go to that website, communitybible.church, you can find out more about our missions organization there. And point number 3, we can experience the joy that comes from partnering with the people of the world. I don't know about you, Butch, but I experience joy when I'm able to partner with different people of different cultures. And we talked about in one of our meetings how worshiping with different people of different cultures and the background and the variety and the beauty that comes from that.
Yeah, and I actually shared a situation that I experienced in another culture when I was on a missions trip, about how much joy there was just in worshiping with people, even though half the time I didn't even understand the language, but there was still that spiritual oneness. And so, a question we might ask on this area is, have you experienced the joy of seeing people of other cultures come to Christ? Whatever that looks like, whether you saw somebody through a missionary letter or something, an evangelist on TV or something like that. But there's really joy. And sometimes it's people even in our own country that are different cultures. But have you seen somebody experience the joy of somebody coming to Christ from a different culture?
And for those of us that are Christ followers, we're all eventually going to be together with Christ in heaven, worshiping together. And so one of the things that we want to remember is we might as well get used to it now while we're here.